Another week down in the NHL means another coach fight. It feels like we've been doing this every week. Yet another one gone, and this time it was Peter Laviolette after exactly 5.5 seasons in Nashville. He's gone. They had come out to an 8-3-1 start, but the Preds struggled to get any real consistency to their game. Their special teams stunk, basically. It wasn't really commensurate with the talent level they have there. They're 5 points out of a playoff spot right now. So David Poile did something he usually doesn't do, and that's fire a guy in the middle of the season. Replaced him with John Hynes, who was recently coaching the New Jersey Devils. I don't think this was a huge surprise, but what's your take first?
It was time, with a team like at least the roster they have. What's been going on there this year is kind of mind-numbing, and you wonder what else can you do. You sign players, you can't trade everyone. The coach gets fired. Makes sense. I think that Laviolette's had success everywhere. Stanley Cup champ, into the finals with Philly. I mean, you name it, he's kind of done it in the game. But I do think that he has a voice that probably gets a little stale, as some other coaches have that we've chatted about in prior episodes, and other guys who've been fired before. So you understand what's going on. And when you mention David Poile doesn't usually do this, I completely agree with that. And that's why I don't think he does do this unless there was a guy he really wanted that was able to come in right away, and that's John Hynes. And that goes all the way back to Ray Sherrow, working with David Poile, working under David Poile, being very close with him. And that kind of shows, I don't think Ray Sherrow necessarily wanted to fire John Hynes. I mean, what else are you going to do? But he certainly has enough trust in that guy where somebody like Poile, who's very close with Ray Sherrow, is going to find out everything that guy thinks about John Hynes. And obviously he gave him enough good words to make sure that Poile believed in his commitment to bringing him in after a tough go in Jersey. But I mean, if you look at the Predators and the team they have, and the lack of difference in ice time, the top guys are playing the same amount as like the fourth line. They're not relying on their big guns, and I think Hynes will immediately change that. Now, granted, they got pumped by Boston on Tuesday night, excuse me. But still, that's first quick game, first day as the head coach. But it was time to make a change. But now it's on these players, and you've seen other teams bounce back all year from a coaching change and really figure things out. Well, Nashville has the roster to do it, but will they is the question.
Well, you pretty much touched everything. That was one of the points I was going to bring up. The main consensus seems to be that Laviolette just wasn't, relying on the top guys, and at a certain point when things aren't going well by distributing the ice time the way it was going down, very similar to the Babcock situation and how people were a little infuriated by that, where, you got fourth line guys playing 2 minutes less than Austin Matthews. Well, let's see if John Hynes can go in there and turn things around. And I'm really interested to see what he can do with a good roster, because, there was some criticism of the way he handled the New Jersey situation. And most people were like, well, I don't think that this is as good as a roster as people thought it was going to be going into the season. So I'm happy for him to get a shot right away. Now, you mentioned that Rob Scuderi was hired as a defenseman coach under John Hynes, which is funny because Hynes had Elaine Nazardine, who was a Michael Therrien disciple, as was Rob Scuderi during their playing days in pro. So interested to see if Scuderi takes a bit of the hard-nosed Therrien approach.
Well, Scuds immediately must have just booked it to a Joseph A. Banks, because he's going to need a couple suits now. He's got his light and his dark. I mean, you're on TV 45 more times this year before playoffs. You got to get your suit game strong, Scuds. But congrats to him. I think he'll make a great defensive coach. I mean, his sense of humor, the way he goes about things, and also what he knows about playing defense, second to none. So I think that he'll also really let a guy like Yossi, obviously he's their leading scorer, why wouldn't he? He'll let him run wild, do his thing. Ellis, he won't hold guys back offensively, but he'll certainly be able to teach you how to have a good stick, because that's what he made a career doing.
Well, I was going to say that positionally, Scuderi we'll go back to the bubble hockey comment. He was just always in the right lanes, always good stick, played very, very, a very deep thinker of the game. And if he can translate to that in the coaching, I think he's going to be extremely successful. That the suit comment got me, because when we were playing in the American League and he'd been sent down to the Ontario Reign, he showed up to one of our games with this wool suit that it had a 2-inch cuff. It was a fucking nightmare. But Scuds, he doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't give a shit.
Shit.
You could have the whole team chirping his suit for a week straight. He literally would not care 1 ounce.
No, he would join in on it. And I'm interested to see if, just to spite us, he wears the shittiest suits behind the bench. So let's keep an eye on that. Folks, if you could be sending us in and submitting pictures, and maybe we could even get him a suit deal.
Yeah, maybe hashtag duds for Scuds.
But in Nashville, let's see what these guys have now. I mean, this roster before the year, everyone was picking them, possible Cup champions, possible Western Conference winners. I mean, it was on. And like Arvidsson's got 9 goals. He missed games with injury. That ain't good enough. Kyle Turris has 5. They're paying him bank. Can Hynes get some more out of some of these guys? Maybe by playing them more, that'll really matter. But I don't know. It's kind of a weird scenario there where you think now this will get them going, and if it doesn't, you wonder what is the actual cause of the main issues in this team not being able to be consistent.
To finish this all off, I don't know if we've done it with the other teams where coaches got fired, but do you guys think that Nashville makes the playoffs?
It's hard to fuck, man. I do, but they got to cop what, 2 or 3 teams right now. What are they out? 5 or 7?
5 out right now of the second wild card spot.
And then the Central Division, they got to be 7 or 9 out if the wild card's just.
I'd say one thing that they do have an advantage with is they have games in hand, right? RA?
Nothing. I mean, they got 1 game in hand on Winnipeg, which they're 5 points behind for the wild card, and actually they don't have any in hand on Dallas, who was in front of them in the Central. So
it's gonna be tough, man. They're gonna have to win. They're gonna have to probably go like the rest of the way out. I don't know, 10 to 12 or maybe more games over 500, right? I mean, if say they have 40 games left, dude, they gotta go like, I don't know, 25 and 15. You're thinking?
They gotta. What they do need is a lot more from their goaltenders in the pipes. Pekka Rinne and UC Saros, they have a combined 889 save percentage. That's just not going to get it done, even get you in the playoffs, let alone once you get to the playoffs. A few other notes here. Per the Athletics, Adam Vingan, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right. I hope so. A lot of people thought Peter DeBoer might be in line for this position, but neither DeBoer or Carl Taylor, who was coaching the Milwaukee team in the AHL, neither one of those guys were contacted for the job. As far as special teams, Nashville's power play before Tuesday's game, their power play was 24th. Their penalty killing was 29th. Philip Forsberg and Matt Duchene, they lead Nashville forwards with 28 points each. Well, that 28 points has them tied for 89th in scoring throughout the league, just indicative of their scoring woes. What's up, boys?
I thought DeBoer was going to get the call. I don't know if what the thinking was there, but I think that with this, considering the goaltending's been as bad as it has, I think that can turn around. I definitely think that special teams can turn around. So I think with that roster and some things improving in those categories, I think that they can squeak in.
Do you not agree though that David Poyle's calling Ray Shero about John Hynes? They probably talked about him before. And saying, well, you just gassed them. I mean, obviously Ray's saying good things and saying that I didn't really want to have to do it. Our team just underperformed, and that was what I was left to do, right? I mean,
right.
or it'd be very shocking to me if 2 guys who are close friends, if one guy shit talks someone, and then he still hires them, So that just shows that it was kind of a weird scenario in Jersey with the team not being nearly as good as what they thought they were going to have because their coach gets a job pretty quickly after getting let go.
Well, it's the same thing with Poyle and Laviolette. Like it's hard to, it's like, oh, the team's underperforming under you, and Laviolette's, well, I can't get a fucking save, and our fucking well, I guess special teams would be on the coach, but goaltending, same thing for DeBoer, is he couldn't get a save this year in San Jose to save his life. So
no pun intended.
Sometimes sometimes the coach is, of course, the first thing that has to go. What else do we got, boys? We kind of spent quite a bit of time.
Yeah, actually, there was one other tool, just so we're not killing the goalies here. This was an interesting number. While Nashville is 6th in goals per game, the percentage of goals that are coming from forwards is actually last in the league. So they're basically not getting enough scoring from up front. And another note on Laviolette, the Nashville run was the longest tenure of Laviolette's head coaching career. And, he had a nice run there. He led the Preds to the playoffs each of his first 5 years. He still had another year left out, $2.5 million, so the Preds will be paying him until he gets hired elsewhere. And obviously, Laviolette's going to have this pick of the litter right now. You know, he led the Preds to a cup final, a President's Trophy, the franchise's first 2 division titles. And Whit, you kind of alluded to it a minute ago. He's one of just 4 coaches to lead 3 different teams to the Stanley Cup final. And, of course, he won it with the 06 Hurricanes. So, Lavi, good luck to him going forward, but he'll have no problem whatsoever finding a new gig.